Welcome back to Triclaw Gaming, and welcome to another Things Jurassic World Evolution 3 Should Do video. If you haven't checked out my other videos on the topic, you should go and check them out. Today I'm going to discuss the guests, paths and decorations, an area Jurassic World Evolution 2 did better with, but a place where Jurassic World Evolution 3 should really improve. Let's get on with the list. Number 1. Guest Immersion. So this is the title I've given to a bunch of improvements, all with the express intention to make the guests of the parks feel less like particle effects and more like actual people. There are lots of aspects to this, so I'm going to focus on the big ones. Something Jurassic Park Operation Genesis was capable of doing, and something Planet Coaster and Planet Zoo actually do, is allow the guests to actually use the various benches and bins around the parks. In Jurassic World Evolution 2, Frontier added benches, which was great, but what the heck was the point when the guests don't actually use them? This should be corrected in Jurassic World Evolution 3. Another way to make guests feel more real is to have them perform actions or behaviours that make sense. For example, show them carrying souvenirs around the park brought from our shops. Again, something Jurassic Park Operation Genesis did, or have them interacting with nearby exhibits by taking pictures or stopping to look, more than those random points that they do currently. At its highest level, the guest desires and interests should be expanded on, beyond the current limited system in Jurassic World Evolution 2, and instead be based off something more like JPOG's system. Guests should desire to see specific animals or groups of animals. Education and services should also matter, as should how much we're charging around the park. In essence, Frontier should look as JPOG as a guide on how to do guests right. Number 2, more objects the guests can interact with. So related to point 1 is an expansion in the objects that we would reasonably expect guests to interact with around our parks. Binocular stands around enclosures would be one possible example of this. Other examples off the top of my head include small shopping stands, cash machines and vending machines. It would also be great if those attraction buildings that claimed to be things like mini golf courses actually came with parts of them we could see and watch guests using. It doesn't have to be in-depth or excessive, a looped animation would be fine, but every little bit helps to add immersion. Number 3, viewing from paths. So connected to the expansion of how guests interact with the park is a very simple request. One of the biggest issues with Evolution 1 and 2 is that dinosaur viewing is totally limited to specific structures. Now this is okay for some animals, but it makes zero sense to use huge viewing galleries for tiny combis. I do not see why it is difficult to allow guests to view the animals via the path system. Make it have a reduced range to keep attractions serving a purpose, but allow guests to view dinosaurs as they walk around. If such a free system is too difficult, Frontier should come up with some sort of specific viewing path or perhaps a viewing point structure that we can place down to allow guests on paths to view animals within the enclosure directly nearby. This can then serve as a location for guest interaction with the exhibit, and as I said before, I don't see why this is so difficult to implement given the free nature of viewing animals in Planet Zoo. Number 4, decoration shapes. Now one area that Jurassic World Evolution 2 did improve on was its supply of decorations and decorative elements that we can use in the park. Everything from fountains to flower planters and more. However, there is a common feature to them. They are often all the same shape and size. A few months ago, I made a video pointing out some extra types of decoration we could have from existing buildings, and in there I commented on a lot of planters that were new and interesting shapes. I feel Jurassic World Evolution 3 should provide us a more unique range of shape and size for all our decorations. Larger square-shaped and circular-shaped planters, for example, as well as fountains. L-shaped or curved sections would also be useful to create unique boundaries. Supersized decorations that combine fountains and planters together to serve as large formal center points might also be good to have for our decorative plazas. Fountains that create sprays that are not all just straight up would also be nice, as would some that are more natural rather than the obviously unnatural fountains we have now. These are all just some basic ideas, and I'm sure there's a lot more. Number 5. How guests get around. The dreaded transport rating. It's one of the most infuriating aspects of the game. The guests in Jurassic World Evolution 2 are terribly lazy, refusing to walk a little further down the path system, barely 100 foot. And while the monorail is what we are meant to use to get people around the park, the fact is it's huge, ugly, and difficult to make work in some smaller parks. In Jurassic World Evolution 3, we need to have some new options to serve as guest transport that are specifically just for transport and don't count as attractions too. Something like a ground level railway or tram system could work here. Another thing that would be nice to have from a Jurassic Park perspective would be to have the Jeep transport system similar to what we see in the first movie with those bright red Jeeps. Halfway through this list, have I mentioned anything you agree with? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like the video while you're there, and if you're new here, please consider subscribing for more content from all of us at Triclaw Gaming. Number 6. Bridges, tunnels, and elevation. So this is one of the biggest drags on our park building abilities, the fact that the path is literally grounded. We can't build proper bridges over water or enclosures, we can't give paths verticality in any way, we can't create tunnels to create more interesting park designs or hook up attractions without bios and hyperloops. I'm not even asking for a system that generates bridges freely. In fact, I almost wouldn't want that. What I think would be good to have is a number of bridges that just come as placeable objects that we can snap path to, like the current building system. Have the bridges come in different lengths and heights and in different building styles to match various eras. Tunnels can be simple entrance buildings that we hook up like the viewing domes or logs. It doesn't have to be bloody difficult, Frontier. And on that point, number 7, staff, paths or roads. It would be nice to have a set of paths or roads that only allow staff or rangers to go on them. Currently, rangers just drive their jeeps through guests at ludicrous speeds and it just looks ridiculous. A staff road would just eliminate that. Number 7. More interesting types of decorations. So as well as new shapes and sizes of decorations, I think there's some space in the next game for a more interesting range of decorations themselves. Just look at these photos from a recent zoo trip I went on. Some proper dinosaur statues in bronze, similar to the statue mod I currently use, would be great, as would more placeable dinosaur skeletons. Given Jurassic Park's Aztec and Mayan inspired styles, some decorative objects in that vein would also work well. Some other decorative objects could be linked directly with the various biomes we have. Egyptian style decorations for our desert parks, for example. Number 9. More path types. 6 is simply not enough, especially when they look very similar. There are some really big obvious gaps in terms of path types here. Wooden paths, metal paths, and tile paths in a range of colour or style are clear missing types, as are dirt paths or gravel paths, which can help out more natural park areas and our campsites. Brick paths are mysteriously missing. Come on, Frontier, I don't understand why you can't squeeze a few more in. Number 10. Fucking decorative fences. I really don't think this needs explaining, and this is also another hill I will die on. We must have decorative fence types in the next game. I'm so sick of having to manually place planters or wall sections to give my paths realistic edging. Give us some low-level decorative fence types and hedgerows so that we can actually do this job properly. Again, it's not difficult, and mod makers like Uniq have demonstrated that these fence types are popular in the community. So that was 10 things at Jurassic World Evolution 3 to improve its paths, guests, and decorations. Let me know down in the comments what your ideas are, and while you're there, don't forget to give us a like and check your subscribe for more content from all of us at Triclaw Gaming. Until next time, stay safe and goodbye.